Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we're going to be talking about episode 7. I'm going to give my recap and then thoughts on it. But before anything else, I want to talk about their new intro. Their new intro was great. Uh, I liked the animated intro from last campaign, but when I went back to watch campaign 1, because I watched campaign 2 first and then campaign 1 second, there was something that I really liked about all of them being in the intro cinematic, like actually them themselves. And I could see this one lasting for a while, and if they wanted to make another animated one, I wouldn't care that much. But this one was really fun. I really liked it, and it told me personally the truth that Robbie is not part of the main cast. He was in a short snippet of it and wasn't at like the major table spots or anything like that. And I think that short snippet that he was in is something that could be easily edited to just show new guests or to add an extra panel of something else. And yeah, which confirmed to me that Robbie's not joining the cast in any, he's not joining the cast full time. He might be a very, very recurring character, but I don't think he is joining the Critical Role cast simply because of that. He wasn't in the opener, he wasn't at the end, he was just in a small section that is, in my opinion, easily edited for guest slots, and if no one's there, they could show something completely different. But this episode, or session, was probably my favorite out of all of them so far. For a million reasons. Well, specifically two really good ones, but I liked a lot of it. So let's get into the recap. We're back at the Dreamscape Theater. Ashton tries to see through Dorian's deception about who he saw, and he successfully does. But we don't, there's no whisper involved in it. There's just, you guys all know what I said earlier, whatever. It doesn't matter that much. And then the theater show starts, and it's a acrobatic performance where they're doing some chanting, and throughout this chanting and performance, a part of me thought that this chanting was what was pulling people to be pulled away backstage, and that's when they go missing. But we'll see shortly the truth behind that. One of the performers actually gets injured, so they finish the show a little early. Imogen looks out into the crowd to see if anything's strange, and nothing terribly strange happens. The party tries to make their way backstage by saying they're important and we got told we can go backstage. Didn't really work out well. So they sneak backstage, Laudna creating a very good distraction with thaumaturgy. It allows them to sneak backstage. However, the minute they get there, Stuvan, the owner of the place, immediately sees them as he is standing right behind the curtain. FCG gets them out of, their deep pile of shit by saying he came to heal the injured performer. He does so, and then through a bit more talking, they reveal that they're there to investigate the missing people and to help Stuvan out. After that, Orem decides to look out into the house and sees a strange hooded person just standing in the back, and then him and Laudna immediately follow him as he leaves the house show. Kendra, one of the performers, denies having any involvement in the missing people and that they should talk to Stuvan about it more thoroughly. The hooded figure, it's revealed that the hooded figure was wearing something very similar to the Hunback Corsairs hoods. Dorian reveals that he saw someone from the Hunback Corsairs following them earlier. We then go to Stuvan's office, where we see that he's got a bunch of memorabilia from previous plays, one of them being a Scanlan callback, which was cool. Fern is very blunt and asks if he's the one behind the disappearances. Obviously, he outright denies this. He opens up about the disappearances, and then he tells us a 3-week window where people are disappearing. 3 weeks ago, a janitor disappeared. 2 weeks ago, a half giant disappeared, who is a performer. That same week, 2 patrons disappeared, And then 1 week ago, another patron went missing from the seat in the back. And then the guards, that's when the guards stepped in. And then 3 days ago, one of the bartenders went missing. So 6 people in 3 weeks went missing. He asks why they came to help and how they can help. Imogen tells him they came to help out of the goodness of their own hearts, but we kind of know that's not true. Some of them are there to help, some of them are just there because this is something they were told to do, like that they have to like spend time before they go meet the anger. It's revealed that everyone went missing during a show or during evening shows and was only found out to have been missing after a show or during intermission. No pattern to the days of the week that they went missing. He tells them they have an underground storage they can look in. But when they ask further about like any like secret doors or anything, he kind of deflects and goes after Dorian and asks what his deal is. We learn FCG wants to perform in the arts because shocker, Sam wants to perform art stuff. They get a whole bunch of nothing from him. He doesn't really have a whole lot of intel other than, yeah, you can look in my place and these are the people who went missing. Stuvan realizes that FCG is not a costume, which freaks him out a little bit. And finally they annoy him enough to the point where they kick him out. He also reveals that he has 2 managers or co-managers under him who will help them out in their investigation. We then go to Laudna and Orem. Laudna tries to find if people are like looking for anybody who's gone missing, asking if she can hear anyone saying, hey, where's my husband, or anything like that. She doesn't see anything or hear anything like that. And then immediately Orem and Laudna lose sight of the guy they're following. And they are bummed out because it was very short-lived for them. So then they go back and learn that he wasn't there for a very long time before that he went missing, or before they went after him. The 2 parties meet back up, and they meet the stage manager. They then go downstairs, or they go down to the storage room, and honestly find a whole lot of nothing down there. The only thing that's revealed is this is where people would go to sneak off if they were looking to have some fun, if you catch my drift. They do learn a little bit more about some of the people who were missing, like the people who worked there. The bartender smoked a little bit. The janitor kind of kept to himself and did not have a master key to every room. Dorian, before they go down, looks for his brother in the crowd, but Laudna gets a little curious and he doesn't see anything beforehand. But then Laudna gets a little curious, asking what he's looking for, because Laudna is to do Laudna stuff. FCG fills in Laudna about what they've learned about the people who've gone missing. They ask about unused spaces, and then they asked about, where performers would take breaks if they have a break room. The manager shows them kind of some useless stuff about the ropes and how they work for the shows. And he also shows them that there's a door to the back alley. Imogen looks around in that back alley at first, but doesn't really find a whole lot. They then go to the older gnome, or female gnome's office, where they learn that she doesn't... How do I put this? She seems to have very negative thoughts on a lot of these people who've gone missing, with the exception maybe being the bartender. And she didn't really have like a whole thing about the janitor. But she tells us that the poor patron who went missing from his backseat was selling some sort of drug, that 2 of the patrons that went missing had an affair, and that the half-giant, which I think isn't a half-giant in Goliath, I feel like I might be wrong on that, but I feel like I might, he was a drunk. He drank a lot, and people think that he just got drunk, stumbled off, and effed off somewhere. After that, the group splits up to search the place because they can do that. There's no real threat happening right now. So Ashton and Laudna go to the washrooms and don't really find anything. FCG and Fern go to the box where the patrons, or one of the patrons, where the two of the patrons went missing, but one of those patrons is in an affair with someone else, and there's a scratch in the wood that says outside, which means that's their meeting place. Hey, go meet me outside. They try to figure out the headspace of the woman in the affair, to figure out how she would have gotten outside, which is just go around into the back door. Orm in the rafters finds a hatch to the roof. Imogen in the alley. She sees how the spire drainage system works, and it helps me visualize the city a little bit better. Every session, I'm starting to visualize the city better and better. And with some of like the really cool art that we see, it's becoming a lot easier for me to like picture this spired, layered city, which was something I struggled with at the beginning. I won't lie about that. She finds a dead end to the other side of the alley. We cut to Dorian, who is finding a whole lot of nothing in the orchestra pit. Imogen sees that the other half of the alley is extremely clean compared to the other half. She opens up her mind again to see if there's anything there. She does sense some sort of static. Some sort of mind or creature is in fact there, but she can't make out what. Eventually, the rest of the group meets up with her in the alley, where FCG does the same and casts Detect Thoughts to hear the same static. They start to investigate this back wall, and as they do, it splits open, and an eye and some tendrils are revealed. And at this point, this is where I was like, damn, this is a great episode. Because Matt had us all thinking that there might be some people behind this. Somebody who was involved in systematically trying to take down or tear down the reputation of this theater. And there's some sort of systematic reasoning to these people going missing, because a handful of these people were in dark dealings, in affairs, were drunks, and you got this sort of pattern that these people who were going missing weren't necessarily great people, and that they were going missing for various reasons of, wrongdoings. But then this fucking wall mimic appears, and it's not that these people are going missing because of their bad shit. They just so happen to be the people who are in the wrong place at the wrong time. And that, to me, made all of this searching this theater for virtually no reason worth it, because it took the scent off of a mimic and made it, there has to be a reason someone's taking these people. So when the mimic appears, it's like, oh shit, that's completely unexpected. And I loved it. That was most people, when they imagine a mimic, it's the little chest, and it opens up and it eats you because you went to look inside the chest. But this wall mimic comes out of left field, and it's totally possible to do. Mimics take the form of virtually anything. So totally unexpected, genius move, and I loved every second of it because I thought that was friggin' amazing. So then they cut to break, and I'm not going to break down combat. There's a lot to break down. I will say this thing does a good job at wrecking them for the good portion of this combat. At one point, Mister appears, but doesn't do a terrible amount. They keep missing. This fight is not going well for anyone. Ashton gets frustrated a little bit with low damage, as a player is to do if you're, beforehand rolling really well in combats, and now for the first combat in, I think, 2 sessions, you're not really doing much. Especially the barbarian, that must hurt your soul not doing max damage all the time. They're having a really rough time with this combat as it progresses. Some of them are getting really hurt, and the threat of death is always right there as low-level combat, and that's something I like. It's one monster versus 7 characters, or 7 players, and it's wrecking them. And that's what I love about low-level combat, is that there is a threat of death for these characters. Once you get to higher levels, the only threat of death is if you didn't happen to buy 6 diamonds worth 500 gold, and you only bought 5, and 6 of you went down, and now you got to pick someone. You know, like that is the threat of low level. You can't revive people. You can't heal people an infinite amount. Like they had to be sparing with their healing because certain people needed it more than others. And that is part of why I think so many people both really like low level games and kind of dislike high level games. Like you never really see too many people playing level 20 for very long. It is level 20 and then the game ends. Almost, like a session or two after. So when you have low levels and you're at risk, you take, you want to be more careful and more cautious, but then there are times where you want to be risky and you end up with Molly Mock dying in the last campaign, or with, I don't want to say Bertrand Bell dying in this campaign, but you end up with people dying in situations that could have been avoidable, and you learn from those mistakes, and then you eventually get to the point where you can be revived, and now you can take even more risks. But the fun part of low level is the fact that permadeath is real. And yeah, I can't stress enough how much I like low level campaigns. I like high level campaigns, like level 15 is perfect, I think. And that's why I thought campaign 2 ending around there was great. But low level games are fun because it's heart pounding, not because you're excited to fight something, but it's because you're worried you might lose. And that's a real threat in low level campaigns. And right now they're low level and it's a lot of fun as a viewer. And I'm sure they're all sitting there with their heart pounding through their chest. And they're probably going to be upset if they die. But they're also loving every second of it because if they die, that's what happens. So, I don't know. I really loved this combat. I thought it was a good showing of very strong risk taking. Because it was a risk not just turning around and running from this thing that they could have turned around and ran from and grabbed guards. They're like right off the main street. They could have done it. After that, Dorian crits it to kill it, which I thought was very poetic for Dorian, the bard, to kill the creature affecting the theater. I thought that was a nice little touch. And it goes back to the guests tend to get the final blow thing that happens on Critical Role a lot. They eventually pull through this combat. It's revealed behind the mimic there was 10 more feet of alley with some bones of the people he obviously ate, which is shitey. They gathered some stuff to try to identify them for their families. And a theme that has been picked up is they fight a lot of inanimate objects in this campaign. A mimic not being an inanimate object, but still taking the appearance of one. And then obviously in the first session, they fought a bunch of tables and floating brooms and knives and stuff. I think Matt is hinting at some sort of group. This is a stupid theory that I came up with in like 5 minutes after the session ended. And Matt has some sort of theory that after that they're like, there's some group using inanimate objects to cause terror. And that's very real. We had that first session where a bunch of inanimate objects. I think this is the real villain of the campaign. The people who are doing this to cause terror and doing something else alongside it. I don't know what that is. Don't know yet. That's just a theory of mine. Another pattern that keeps emerging is Laudna is always in terrible positioning. She always finds herself up front, which is where she should not be. Matt reveals they broke the fourth wall. Sorry, Sam reveals that and Matt cringes at it. They try to figure out how it got there. The old gnome woman says, or the old gnome woman manager says, that street, like the back alley, was supposed to get repaired. Matt reveals that none of the construction got done a little bit later. Guards come into the scene, see what happened, go, oh shit. They begin to accuse Stuvan a little bit of maybe putting it there on purpose. But he deflects them and says, fuck you, I've got nothing to hide. Stuvan takes them up to their office, thanks them for helping, gives them some gold, and they finagle a couple of free memberships out of it. He gets annoyed and kicks them out again. The party walk past the mimic, and takes their stuff back. Fern begins to take teeth. Fern is the definition of chaos. This is Chaos Crew. I know the Mighty Nine said it, but Fern alone has caused more chaos in these 7 episodes than the Mighty Nine did in 50. She is nuts, and yeah. This is where it's revealed there is 0 fresh masonry done. This masonry group did not do a stellar job, and it's at this point where you have to think the workers that were there either died to the mimic because it snuck in with the construction stuff, or they were the ones that left the mimic there. There were small devices attached to the creature, which to me says that the workers left it there. The workers didn't die, and that the workers were the ones who put it there, so they were under some sort of deal to cause chaos with inanimate objects again. And Imogen takes one of the objects or devices attached to the creature, and she does it without being seen. They notice a shadow at the end of the alleyway. Someone a bit different from the person they saw before. He's a little shorter, and I don't think the cloak was the same. And Travis walks back in to the stage, which means he's not the anger, which sucks because that video I just made. But you win some, you lose some. I happen to lose a lot, but I also pull a win out. He is a old gnome, and he is a rogue. He is Chetney. I believe the last name was Pock-Opie. He is Chetney Pock-Opie, the gnome rogue. One of my predictions was right. I am ecstatic for this. I was so wrong in that video. Now I am 1 for 7, and I am taking it to my grave. I was right about one thing. Hallelujah. He's super meta about it and asks if they're looking for work before he reveals he's actually looking for people to help him out. And I want to point out that Chetney, Pock-Opie, is not the same gnome rogue as his one-shot character. His one-shot character was Chutney Choco something. I forgot the last name. I should have wrote it down. But it's not the same character. I looked it up on the wiki for the names, and they don't match. So, whether this is a fake name or not, it doesn't matter. One of my viewers wrote a comment on my last video saying he imagined Travis shows up and is his character from the one shot, and absolutely knocked it out of the park with this, because that is what this character is. It is totally the one shot character. He's a rogue gnome who is all about winter and Christmas, and he's got woodworking tools. And to that viewer commenter, you knocked it out of the friggin' park, my dude. That was amazing. You know who you are. I pinned that comment in that video, so go congratulate that guy for guessing it perfectly. But yeah, it is not the same as his one-shot character for the Christmas one-shot, but it effectively is the same. So, and I'm ecstatic he's a rogue, which means I got that one right. Part of me thinks he is going to be an inquisitive rogue because, well, they need someone who's smart. Ashton's smart, but outside of that, not too many of them are terribly smart. And, you know, older. He's got some wisdom to him. Maybe he's intelligent as well. But some people were upset. Not upset. Some people in one of my comments said they didn't want him to be a rogue. Because rogue, in all fairness, rogue is a very good cheat. Essentially. Rogue allows you to skip combats. They allow you to break through things that aren't supposed to be done quite yet. And they're just all well, like, rounded. Like, at a certain point, you get your expertise and you no longer have to worry about rolling, like, shite on your, you know, your proficiencies. And because of that, rogue feels a little broken sometimes. And up until this point, we haven't had a rogue in this party. So it's been, you know, they have to sneak and they don't have this huge advantage on their hands. But now they do. And I think they desperately needed this. This is too shady of a group to not have a rogue. They try to do too many sneaky things. So now, with Ashton being able to, I think it was pass without a trace, and I think he has silence as well, something like that. With that combined with Travis's new character, I think they're going to do wonders with sneaking around now. So no more fumbling, stumbling, sort of goofy stuff. Hopefully, or maybe not hopefully, maybe you like that a lot. I happen to really like seeing successful sneaking and unsuccessful sneaking, or unsuccessful sneaking. But I'm excited for this. Travis is back. My favorite player is back. So this is an all-around win. And he's one of my favorite classes. So triple win. And I think he's going to be ecstatic to do a ton of damage. And because he's a rogue, he's going to be able to push that big red button. And we all damn well know Travis likes pushing that big red button. I think that is going to be the best thing about Chetney. One small concern that I have is he might... And this is what happens because of what... Like, I'm starting to learn more about why the Bertrand Bell thing might not have been the best thing in the world. And that is, I don't know if this is Travis's main character. A part of me thinks this is too much of a joke character to be the main character. So we shall see about that. And a small part of me is going to be perpetually worried that this character is not Travis's main character yet. But we'll never know. Or we will know, just not yet. So, yeah. And Travis coming back, the twist about the Mimic, a handful of good callbacks. This is stuff like that is why this is one of my favorite episodes. I like that we got interesting group dynamics. We had Imogen and Orym, not Imogen and Orym. We had Laudna and Orym going off by themselves, which I wish we got a little bit more out of that. And we had Ashton and Imogen. Did I say Imogen again? I meant Laudna and Orym. And then Laudna and Ashton went off by themselves. And then FCG and Fern did some investigating by themselves. Dorian and Orym, who we've seen a bit, obviously they were part of EXU together. But those two have butted heads quite a bit in EXU. So seeing them together now, obviously there's some, time in between EXU and now. So it seems they've patched over this, headbutting thing that they did a little bit in EXU, which is good. And then obviously we had Imogen doing a lot of her own stuff, which, is always fascinating when she messes around with her mind reading powers. This was just a good episode. It displayed a lot of good character stuff. Great diversions from Matt with the Mimic. I did not suspect the Mimic at all. That was nuts. And then Travis coming back. He is not the Anger, but he is a rogue. And I love it. So, that's all I have to say about the episode. I want to give a quick thanks to all of these subscribers. I woke up yesterday with 200. Today I have 208. And that's a big milestone. In the last month and a half-ish, I went from 20 to 208. You guys are smashing it, and I'm internally grateful for it. I won't bring up subscribers again until 300 because I'm going to bring up milestones. But until that point, I appreciate every new subscriber who does subscribe. So thanks. Next video is coming out on Tuesday. I'll see you then.